Hello, my name is Jamie Thomson, and in this video I'm going to take you on a quick tour of SQL Server Data Tools, or SSDT as I shall call it. In order to do that, I'm going to open up Visual Studio 2012. I'm going to create a brand new project, and in this case we've selected SQL Server, and in the selection here we have SQL Server Database Project, and that is our SSDT project that we want to use. I'm going to call this something very simple, like Demo. Click OK. And we have our project set up for us in Solution Explorer. There's nothing in here at the moment. We have an empty properties folder and some references, which is also empty. So let's do something slightly interesting. Let's create a table in our database. Let's call this person. Okay, so notice where we've been launched into the SSDT table designer. We have a script as part of our project which is called person.sql, and the table designer is in two parts. In the top bit here we have a graphical representation of our table, and here we have the script which we'd actually created. Now what I'm actually going to do here is change the name of the initial field that gets created for us. I'm going to call it person ID. Now what I want to draw your attention to is the fact that up here the change that we made in the script is represented in the graphical UI as well, which is quite handy. It works the other way as well. I could click the Allow Nulls button, and that changes to a not null. Sorry, changes to a null. I can change it back to not null, and the Allow Nulls button is no longer checked. So showing that whatever I do in the script is reflected in the GUI, and vice versa. In this case I'm going to take off the primary key just to make it easy for us for demo purposes. I'm also going to create another field called name. I'm going to make that an nvarchar max. Okay, and we probably don't want nulls in there either. Good. Click save on that. So we now have a person table defined in our project. So, in this case it's only a script. We haven't actually run the script anywhere. We don't have a physical database anywhere. What I'm going to do is let's look at the properties of this project. So I'm going to, in this case, we get a choice to deploy to SQL Server 2005, 2008, 2012, or SQL Azure. I'm going to go to SQL Server 2012. Okay. I'm going to go to build. In this case, building a project looks at all the syntax that we have defined within all our DDL, checks that it's all valid, and in this case we do have one successful build, which is good news. Okay, so let's go to what we call publish. So publish is the process by which SSDT will take the definition of a database and deploy it to a physical database. Let's go edit. I'm going to deploy it to my local server. And I think we already have, yeah, we do have a database that I created earlier, so I won't use that one. I'm just going to call this one Demo. Let's go to SQL Server Management Studio. Yes, here's one I created earlier. Let's get rid of that. Thank you very much. So we don't have any databases in here at the moment. Let's hop back to Visual Studio. I'm going to click on Publish. In our Data Tools Operations window, it goes through various steps, and we see we have a successful publish. Let's take a look at the script which actually got generated there. You see that this is a lot more complicated than simply our create table statement, which you will see down somewhere near the bottom here. Here we go. Here's our create table for dbo.person. Well, there's a lot of other things going on here as well. For example, our database is actually going to get created, and there's various other things that it does as well. If I hop back to SQL Server Management Studio, let's go refresh. Lo and behold, we have a database, and it has a table in it called dbo.person. Okay, so SSDT has created the project created our database for us, which is good. In this case, I actually want to put some data into that table, so I'm going to go add new script. I'm going to choose post deployment script, and what that means is this script will run after the database has been deployed. Click Add, and let's insert into DBO dot. Now notice we get IntelliSense at this point because it knows what's in the project. So DBO.person. I'm going to go into person ID, name, and what we're going to put in here. Well, the US election is coming up. I think it's in about a week's time, so it's kind of on my mind, even though I'm not American. But never mind. So let's pick Barack, and who's the other guy? I've forgotten his name already. Mitt. There we go. Okay, so we have a script which is going to insert some data. Let's go publish again. Now I need to go and select that same server. Let's make sure I've got the same database. I do. Now I don't want us to go through that every single time, so what we're going to do is save those settings as what we call a publish profile file. It's going to get called demo.publish. If I hit cancel there, you see that we now have a demo.publish.xml file as part of our project. I can double click on that, it takes me into the same dialog, and I can publish the project. That's going through now. Notice in our Data Tools operations window, and everything is successful. Let's go and take a look at the one I created earlier. And lo and behold, we have some data in our table. Okay, good news. I'm going to hop back into my table. Now I've decided I don't like my name column to have this particular name, so I'm going to change this to be person name, so it's consistent with the table and with the previous field. So I actually want to rename that table. Let's try that publish again. Whoops, don't mean to do that, excuse me. Let's try that publish again. Click the publish button. Now in this case it fails. Now why is that? So let's go and take a look at the results. We have a couple of error messages here. So rows were detected, the schema update is terminating because data loss might occur. So what's going on? We get some messages. The column dbo.person.name is being dropped. Data loss could occur. The column dbo.person.person.name on table dbo.person must be added. Okay, so what's going on? There is actually a check within our script. It says if exists, select top one from dbo.person. So what it's doing is it's having a look to see if there's any data in dbo.person. If it does, it's actually throwing an error and thus ending the publish. The reason for that is what it would otherwise try and do is drop the person.name field. The reason for that is SSDT doesn't know that we've renamed the field. All it sees is that the table we're trying to deploy is called person name, and that table doesn't have a doesn't have a field in it called name. So it tries to drop. It's going to try and drop it, but it can't do that if there's data in the table, which, as we know, there is. So how do we get around this problem? Well, SSDT does have a provision for this. Let's change the column back to what it was before, and let's just check we can now publish it successfully. Okay, everything's green, that's good, everything's worked. But we don't want our field to be called name, we want it to be called person name. So what we can do is right click and select this refactor option. Let's go rename. So we're going to change our column to be called person name. Let's click OK on that. And what it does is show me all the places which might be affected by this. Now this script obviously is one place where it's affected, but also that insertion that we created in our post-deployment script is also going to get affected, so it's going to change that script for us as well. If we click apply, there, that's been done for us. Take a look at that post-deployment script. Sure enough, it's changed that insertion for us, and we should now be able to publish successfully. Here we go. Oh, I don't need to do that, I can just go straight to my publish XML file. Okay, we're publishing to the same database. I'll click publish, and in this case everything is successful. And if we actually look at that script, you'll see what happens. SSDT knows, because we actually used the refactor operation, that it should issue an SP rename for the person.name field and change it into person name, which is exactly what we want. If we take a look at our deployed table, Notice person name is the name of the field. Okay, that's very much a whirlwind tour of SSDT. I've showed you the basics of how you can start off a project from scratch, publish it, put data into it, and then make a refactor operation to actually change the name of an object in your database. I hope this has been useful. It's a very short introduction, but it should introduce you to some of the basic concepts of SSDT, so good luck using it in the future on your own projects. Thank you very much.